This is the Intermission Podcast.
We want to get to know our homeboys and homegirls and invite you into our space.
It's a whole mood of positivity.
The Intermission Podcast.
Welcome back to the Intermission Podcast, a break with your homegirls.
This is our Vidversary, right? Y'all, it's been officially a year we've been in COVID.
It is. It's been a year. I am Jessica Williams, aka at COJ Will, if you don't know me.
And I am Jessie Denise.
And I'm Ivana.
And yes, it is our Vidversary. Okay. And welcome back, ladies. Welcome back, everyone. Okay. It was not our intention to be gone as long as we have been gone. When we last left you, the fate of America was in the state of chaos and possible pandemonium, but we pulled it out, right? And then it was not our intention to not come back. It was just, I think, at least for me, all of 2020 came rushing in at once, and by the end of the year, I think I was just emotionally tapped out and exhausted. And so at some point, we had looked up and we was like, wow, we haven't no episodes. Vaughn you was traveling doing family stuff. Jess, you was traveling doing family stuff. So, it wasn't our intention to leave you all, but we're back now. And we're back. So before we kick it off into this particular topic, I want to say I'm doing a series of paradigm shift conversations around just life and things in general. I'm going to be doing them on Sundays. So they're going to be March 14th, March 21st, and March 28th. It's International Women's Month or Women's History Month. It's all the things. Okay. So we're celebrating the ladies. I'm bringing 3 incredible ladies that I feel like have just been killing it and crushing it this pandemic to help us all shift our little paradigms. So I'm gonna make sure that's on the page. It's completely free. You just got to register at Eventbrite, and we'll send you the link when we're doing it. So that's we trying to step some things up.
Yeah.
Anywho, so let's get into this whole Vidversary. I've seen so many things from GMA3 today. They were talking about 1 year in COVID. Everybody's talking about the 1 year in COVID.
Yeah.
Because it's been a struggle.
Today's my 1 year. Last year. March 12th was the last day I worked last year, so it's my official.
Wow.
Yeah, I remember packing up my stuff at work, and oh shoot, I remember my boss being like, "So, can you do this all remotely, or do you need to be here?" I was like, "What are you talking about? What are you talking about?" And then I was like, "Why would I?" And I was like, "Oh shoot, everything's getting shut down." I was like, "Yeah, sure, I can go home, no problem."
You sure were still working, because I think we all started kind of shutting down at the same time. So me and my parents, I think we started the 6th or whatever, because they're in the age risk. So 65 and older, they was like, y'all can't go outside. So I was like, okay, well, what do I do? And then I think both of y'all were still working. So you were like, I'm on set, but I'm not sure. Just when they finally sent you home, we was like, uh-oh, it's getting real out here.
Yeah, real.
So, it's been a year, you guys. And so since we've been, I can't even say, I say lockdown on air quotes, because that's not been the case across the country. So whatever we've been doing, we've been dealing with the coronavirus for 365 plus days. Okay. So what's going around right now, this WNYC radio host, Tanzina Vega, I think is how you pronounce her name. So she has this catch-all term for the mental, physical, and emotional weight of all of this. And she's calling it the pandemic wall. And so she had this tweet that's going viral. This is what she said. Lots of people, including me, are hitting what I'm calling the pandemic wall this week. She said this January 14th of 2021. The burnout from working nonstop, no break from news, childcare, and isolation is hard. It's okay not to be okay right now. I think we need to accept that. Can't think straight, can't sleep, brain fog, depression, even random physical symptoms. I think it's all pandemic burnout. Not the same as pandemic fatigue. Fatigue is being tired of wearing a mask, etc. Burnout means not seeing the end of it and not being able to function at optimal capacity. I don't want to be a downer, but I want to acknowledge that people are really feeling worn out. Hopefully you see you're not alone. Ladies, what y'all think about that?
Well, I, for one, hit that burnout. I actually went through in the fall around October. I had like a real big breakdown. Just a lot of stuff, a lot of stress around the clock. Like there's no real breaks to like say, if you're, let's say, for instance, you're going to school, you go to the school, you go to library, you get into your zone. And then when you leave, there's a weight lifted, or if you're at work, there's a clear, defined line of when you clock out. Now, anytime you decide to work outside of that, you know that you can work at a different level, right? Because you're outside of your normal work hours. But the way it is now, with it just smeared, lines all smeared, it just has caused a stress, a very unnecessary stress. And then, like, if you do have kids and you're trying to teach them, because these teachers, online teaching is not easy whatsoever. And online learning is not easy when you are not signing up for it, right?
Right.
Sometimes you at work and you do that. But yeah, like I've hit that wall. I finally got to a place where I was like, I'm going somewhere. I'm going to go see my sisters in Texas. I'm going to go travel. I'm out of here. But it's just like you get to a point, you do it as safely as possible, but the walls are caving in, and either I get outside or I'm going to be in a mental hospital. You know what I mean? And so for my wellness, I got to go, you know? So yeah, I definitely 1000% agree with it. And I think a lot of people are dealing with that. I mean, we see the suicide rates much higher now. We see depression. You see people going into the hospitals. And it's not just America. In other countries, like they have a skyrocketed amount of young people dying because they're committing suicide because they cannot deal with this. Right. So I completely agree with what she said.
Vaughn, what about you? What you think?
Yeah, no, that's real. I saw firsthand the homeschooling situation. My grandma turned 90 in October, so I went home. I was like, bump that. I'm going to Connecticut. My grandma's turning 90, so I got me a hazmat suit. I had the shield. I had the mask. I was like, I'm going to see my grandma for her 90th birthday. Just go to the airport. Like, it was a whole, like, we made sure I was, straight or whatever. But I stayed with my sister, and she has 2 children. And my nieces, I was like, oh my gosh, like while I was there, I was able to help one niece while she had one of her daughters. But by herself, she has to try to manage, making sure they're both signed in, and they have to sign in on this time, and then they have to pop out. They have to do this, and the bell dings, and it's time for you to come back, and you have to come back at this time. It's like college for a first and a third grader. You know what I mean? Like, you have to know your schedule and make sure you're on at this time. And I'm like, they're 6 and 8. They don't know, like, they're not doing that. But my sister has to manage that, which is tricky. And so I was like, I'm just witnessing this firsthand for 1 week of homeschooling and helping my sister with my nieces, homeschooling. And I know for me in college, if I could not take a online class, like that just was not, I need to be in the classroom. I need to see a board. I need to be with other people so that I am learning. Like, learning online is just not, not good for me. So I can't imagine children who are not used to that. And I know some children, one of my little sisters, she's in high school, she is thriving with this. Like, she's doing well. Her grades are fantastic. But for most of the kids I know, it's overwhelming for them, for the parents. My nieces were crying, my sister's screaming, and I'm like, sit it down. And then when it's your niece or your whatever, like, she'll listen to me because I'm auntie.
Right.
But this mommy, you gonna give mommy a hard time. Or and then you have parents jumping on. I had one day there was a parent, he jumped on with an attitude with the teacher and was trying to tell her off in front of the children. And I'm like, that's inappropriate.
Wrong.
You know how much they're dealing with right now, and you're mad because she came on and did something a little bit late, but she was waiting for other kids to come on. Like, and you don't talk to her in front of the children. Like it was a whole thing, and I was heated, and I wanted to say something. I was like, let's make it worse. So I say something now to him. Like, what are you doing? Like, why are you?
No problems, big fella. You know?
Come on, she's enough on her plate. Like, she was flustered for the rest of the class, you could tell. But I was like, yo, come on now. These teachers are working hard. Our friends who are teachers, we see them like trying to do their very, very best to do things for the children. I know just for that alone, I was like, if I had a small child and I was trying to homeschool, I know me Christian would have been fighting. Okay?
Of course.
He might have done well at homeschool, but you never know.
It's not something you want to change. Listen, my sister's been going through it, you know what I mean? Because the boys had to go home. Because the family and I did have the vid, so we could talk about that on another thing. But it's been really hard for them to adjust. My sister, she just had the girls, now she has all of them, and it's just a whole thing. And so we've had, we had them boys on a strict routine, but at home it's home, and so I feel bad for parents who are like, this, I didn't sign up for this, right? So like me and my kids, like we are already gonna have our battles as parent-child, but now I'm parent-child, teacher, principal, disciplinarian,
lunch lady,
all the things. So
yeah,
it's a strange thing. So I have a question. So we're doing the format a little different. We're giving y'all 2 episodes a month because that's what we got. And then when we're not giving you episodes, we giving you lives, okay, on the gram. We've had a great time. Me and Vaughn was talking about Megan and Harry and Oprah and Tyler Oh So go check that out. Make sure you're following us at Intermission HG, on IG, and you won't miss a thing, okay? So this month, we're doing themes as well. So this month is mental health, of course, and wellness around this whole 1 year pandemic Vidversary. So anybody can jump in. If not, I can, say some things as well. How would you describe, like, what do you think your mental health was before the pandemic? Like, you could give me a word, sort of a description. I could say for me, I was going to therapy anyway.
Me too.
So I had already had, like, it was kind of like, I'm not good about working out. But I think in terms of my mental health and working out, I was fine. Because when I met weekly, we always talked about things. And so I think I had kind of had like a steady, level when it came to this kind of stuff. I like being at home. I'm the introvert in the group of extroverts. So it was cool at first. But I think after a while, just the being inside and being around, and we had the boys and it was a whole thing. It started to weigh on me eventually, but I was glad that I had, that support system and having a therapist. So I would say I was okay, but I think none of us could have predicted about like literally having to be in the house for this long. Yeah. Vaughn, what you got on it?
Before the pandemic, I would say my mental health was stable. I was also going to therapy. I need a therapist though for that. So I was I was going to therapy and just making sure I was in the right mental space just for my regular life. In the pandeezy, I will say that I found out that I am more of an introvert than I thought I was. When they talked about like going back to work and things opening back up, I was like, oh no, I like being home, but not. Wait a minute, I like being home more than I thought I did. But it is necessary. But like you said, like I have been places. Like I went to Connecticut, I went to Cabo, and I've been to Houston twice. So I've been out in the streets carefully. So I think that has helped me. I think if I hadn't gone to those places, I'm sure my mental health I would be trying to find some online sign up something, because after a while I would have been like, oh no, because I'm getting to that point now again where I'm like, I've been home for a couple of weeks. I ain't been nowhere. Now it's time for me to do a little something. But I will say my mental health has stayed intact during the pandemic. I haven't been overly stressed. I've been blessed with my unemployment that even when they deducted it, I was still getting something. So I think that's a lot of stress for people too, where they were getting denied or they weren't able to pay their bills and things were getting shut down and restaurants were closing. They didn't have any work, and people who were self-employed, and it was a new time for them getting unemployment. They are getting it, but it's been harder for them to get it. Meanwhile, people are scamming for thousands, which that's been pissing me off. I'm like, how are you scamming for thousands? People who really deserve to be getting the unemployment aren't getting it. Well, sorry.
Send them to jail. Send them all to jail.
Damn.
I don't care what race they are. I don't care if they're my people. Send them to jail because you knew that was wrong. Period. Poo.
Me, what people, I think, because I know God has kept me financially. That has been a big weight that hasn't, I think that's a big weight for people too, because they're like, yo, I need to feed my children and myself and pay my bills, my roof over my head, and stuff like that. So that's been a big blessing for me. But my mental health is back. It's straight.
It's straight.
The body here soon, though.
Yeah, I feel it. Jeff, what you got on it?
So I thought for the pandemic, I was good, right? I was good. I operated at the level that I operated at. I was fine, I couldn't foresee any breakdown coming or anything like that, I thought I was fine. Then the pandemic happened, we all had to stay at home, and I realized I was operating at a level that was actually desensitizing myself. And so I feel like everybody experienced this at that first quarter. Like, you could decide whether you're going to sit with yourself or not. And so it was actually really good. I mean, you guys, we did a lot of unpacking last year around this time in the first quarter or second quarter of the year, basically. We did a number of episodes regarding men, relationships, and stuff like that. And so that helped me to really just dig deep on who I was, right? And how I was reacting to people and how I was treating people. Right. And so the pandemic was actually really good for me in that aspect of my mental. Like, I got to actually back up, slow down, and see where I stood. And so I was very, very happy at those beginning parts. And then I jumped into school. That took everything out of me. And health, it affected my health tremendously. As Vaughn said, like, online learning is very difficult. And to have to do such difficult classes online, no study groups, no anything, no real classroom feel, it's not for anyone. I don't recommend anyone to pick up something like this already difficult to do and then say, oh, and on top of that, I'm going to add this other component, And so I just, my body was deteriorating is what I call it. My health was deteriorating in the late fall. And I really thought something was wrong with me. I was like, do I have COVID or something? But I didn't go nowhere, y'all. Absolutely nowhere. My day would be like, I would roll out of bed, sit at my computer, and I would not get off that computer for so many hours. Like, so it was just really stressful, and it started, like, my blood pressure was up and everything. It was bad. And then in January, I decided, I'm going to take care of myself. And I've just been on, I don't know, some switch happened. I don't know. Yeah. And now I've been like, absolutely not. I'm not about to let my body deteriorate. We ain't doing that. Your health is your wealth. So get it together. I changed my diet. I work out. I'm happy. You know what I'm saying? And I travel again. Now granted, I'm not traveling nearly as much as I did before. I mean, besides, you already know, Europe said, heck no, you're American, you ain't coming over here. So I can't go to most places. But I am like, making sure, like, if I want to go see my sister if he's in Texas, I go see my sister and spend a good amount of time. Now, that also means that I do get COVID tests and stuff like that. But anyways, no matter what I do, it's nobody else's business. But that's how I'm keeping up with my mental health right now. And so before, I thought I was good, but the pandemic actually made me really assess where I was at. And where I was actually operating wasn't good. And now I'm better.
Love it.
Better. I ain't been back to therapy in a minute. But y'all know, as all of us are, we're big advocates for therapy, mental health and therapy. They go hand in hand. Some people be like, I'm going to pray it away. I said, yo, you should go to a therapist, get some tools, and pray. Because they're going to help you walk through life, I tell people like this, like, a mental therapist, family help, whichever one you go to. It's like, for a wedding, some people can plan their entire wedding and need no help. And then other people need somebody else to look at all those pieces and put them together, right? And that's exactly what a therapist does. Some of them can step out and see the entire puzzle and make it make sense for you. And then not only do they make the puzzle make sense, but they show you how to walk through that thing and navigate and give you the keys. And if they don't give you the keys, they're a lousy therapist and you should pick another one, but eventually you shouldn't need your therapist. So I'm all about it. So can't wait to start saying mine again.
Hello.
Can't wait to afford it, y'all. You listen. We have to be smart with the coins, So when that time comes back where I can break off 150, then I'll be back in it,
Facts. Big facts. So what would y'all say? Now we're going to do a compare and contrast. What was your best day mental health wise in the pandemic versus your worst day? And how did you get over it? Like, how did you not get over it, but push through it? Go ahead.
I can tell you my worst day for sure. I have it off top. I actually lost my best friend, my guy best friend during this pandemic, not to COVID. It was hard. It was a very hard morning. And I thought I could just manage and just keep it moving, but it was really bad. I was very lucky that day. Ivana was actually coming by to grab something. And so it was good because I wasn't alone, and had someone there. But that was the worst day during the pandemic for me. And the way that I got over it, I actually seen a counselor at my school, and she helped me manage like breathing exercises. And she just literally talked to me, and her talking to me really helped me to like release it. And so like, you already know when you're grieving, like there's really no real definite end. No one knows how that's going to go, but talking to her helped me through that thing so much. And I don't know what my best day was.
Mm-hmm. Vaughn, what about you? What you got?
My worst day? I really can't think of that right now.
Well, that's good. I mean, if you don't have one.
That's amazing. Don't think of the worst. You tell the best.
Right. That one. It's great.
Yeah, like I really
Do you have a best day?
Yeah.
I was like, do you have a best day? I mean, however much you want to tell.
I do have a best day.
Tell it.
Share. My best day was because like the Cabo trip was like super random, right? Like, what wasn't random? Lies. My friend wants to go for her birthday because her 40th is next year, but she was here for her mom's birthday in LA, and she was like, bump that. We're gonna be here next year. Like, let's go to Cabo for my birthday in November. And I was like, bet, whatever. So this is like, this is about September. So we were like, okay, sure. Like, let's just go. But then that never happened. Like, we never planned it. So I was like, okay, I'm getting my nails done in Connecticut, and her husband hits me and is like, hey, we're going to Cabo next week. And I was like, next week? Wait a minute, hold up. I need to get my coins, bro. We in the COVID, And so we surprised her. It was great. Like, we got there. She actually texted me like, hey, girl, he surprised me. I'm in Cabo. I'm like, oh yeah. I'm in the hotel already. I'm like, oh yay, fun. That's. I was like, oh, super sweet. Da, 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 da. And he's like, well, I'm here safely. I'm like, okay, yeah, keep me updated. Blah blah blah. I'm in my room. And we surprised her. It was so awesome. But during that trip, I connected with one of the groomsmen that I was in their wedding with. And we've been talking every day since Cabo, like FaceTime every single day. Only thing that interrupted us was the Houston storm.
Yeah. Prayers up for Houston. And
Jesus, yeah, he was fine. They were fine. They had no power, but they were, they were together and they were okay. Mm-hmm. But that was my best day. I was like, hiding a man in COVID. Okay, guys.
Sometimes you just gotta wait on that.
I've known for a long time, but just
sometimes it has to be revealed in time.
Yeah, like the most we ever talked in the past 11 years we know each other was in Cabo. So yeah, it was just great. He made sure he was my driver for the ATV. Him and my friend's husband, they made sure him and I were. I was like, put me in a car with somebody, and me and my girlfriend were like, trying to ride together, and my friend's husband's like, no, she's gonna ride. No, y'all, they riding together. I'm like,
they had already talked about this part.
They had conspired. Yeah, so it was great.
That's
yeah,
dope.
It was a man with a plan.
Man with a plan.
Yeah, so that was the best day, was connecting with him and getting a boo during the COVID, who's amazing. He's amazing.
Listen, that's been a thing that people have been struggling with. So, keep hope alive, keep your eyes peeled. And I think a lot of it is, what Jess said. You got to know what you want, what you don't want, what you're willing to put up with. There's a lot of false pretenses and things that can't be happening these days because people ain't got time for games and foolishness. Okay? So we thank God for that. I think for me, I would say my best days, definitely I think when my nephews were here, when they weren't driving me crazy, but seeing them have time with my dad and connecting with them in that way was really fun. My birthday last year was really fun. Just because we was in the park. That was the most we had been outside. That was when we was all inside, and then we were outside. And so that was the first time we got outside. So it was cool. We just colored in the park and chilled. And it was a really, chill day. I got amazing gifts. Thank y'all. And we took great pictures. That was fun. I would say my worst day has probably been recent. I know I had told the story about my nephews will bring their dog over here, and they dropped her off with us because my sister was kind of she was tired of her. And they dropped her off maybe 3 or 4 weeks ago. And so I was taking care of her. I was like, are y'all going to take her back? And the kids were like, no, it's fine. So she kind of became my dog. But unfortunately, she passed away last week in my arms. So it's been a really traumatic situation. So she was kind of in my care, I guess, for hospice care, essentially. After my mom had talked to my sister, she was like, oh, the dog's been, throwing up and pooping and doing things for a while. And once we took her to the vet, they were like, yeah, for a puppy, she was 2.5, right? So they're for a puppy, her levels are really her blood sugar was crazy. They thought her kidney wasn't regulating right. She may have had a tumor. And so we were taking her to the vet. And then last Tuesday, she just gave up the ghost. It was very traumatic. In my arms the whole time. I have some of it recorded because we were doing a meeting with people. So it was it's been really hard to get back to sleep normally and do all that kind of thing. And so I think to Jess's point, about losing her friend as well. And I remember that because me and you hadn't really connected, but Vaughn, we were trying to figure out recording, and Vaughn was like, yo, I don't know if you know what's going on. And I was like, word. So I just kind of, prayed and gave you my, gave you space because I know how that is. And I think that a lot of what we're not talking about in terms of the vid is in terms of personal losses and losses we suffered as a world. You know what I mean? We have 520,000 some odd people in America that have died, and the grief that's come from this time, aside from personal losses, people who haven't passed away from COVID, but other things are occurring, and just this collective mass grief that we all have and that we share. And we got to try to figure out how to, keep going in life in spite of death being present and loss being present, not just physical death, but, there were some things we thought we were going to do last year. There's some things we thought we were going to do, this year. The whites ransacked the Capitol. It's all kinds of things. You know what I mean? We're the world is still a very crazy, hard place. And we've had a lot of collective grief to deal with. So yeah, man, I think we've all been trying to figure those things out. So this leads me to our next thing. What have been some of you guys' best practices in terms of decreasing anxiety, stress? If people are still, like you said, Vaughn, with people's money, our money has been funny a little bit. Thank God they figured it out. I will say this is the last time I will be dependent on the American government for anything. I'm already I'm definitely going to be investing some of this money. Earn Your Leisure, check them out. Because I'm I don't want to do it anymore. I don't want to have my money caught up in that. But in terms of anxiety, stress, whether it's financial, whether it's grief, what are some of the, you guys' best practices that you have that you can share?
For me, is breathe and talk about it. The Calm app is great, but the biggest thing is you gotta breathe. And I mean, everybody's like, yeah, breathing, take a moment, breathe. It actually gets more oxygen to your brain, all this stuff. But a lot of stuff that we're going through, the stress is the thing that's going to hurt us the worst, And so if you can breathe, take a moment, simmer down and breathe, and then have someone you can talk that out with. Maybe not just one person, but a couple people that are trustworthy that you can talk it out with. And I think that a lot of times people think certain people have it together and we don't. But because we don't talk about where we're at, it leaves no space for someone to come in and help. You know what I mean? Like, Jess, if you knew I wasn't eating and I told you that, right, your mother would make me a 5-course meal for 5 days. You know what I mean? Like, your household, all of you guys would come and drop off. Y'all would not come inside because, we don't play that. But y'all would drop off meals. You would take care of your people. And I think a lot of times, like, I know some people here, and a lot of our people, our homegirls and homeboys, might not have quote unquote trustworthy friends that they can do that. But a part of this is like, you have someone, you have people, you might not want to put down the mask that you have. You know what I mean? Like, let's not have ego. Let's just open up and tell people where you're at, because a lot of people are dealing with the same thing, especially during this time. There's like a ton of grace. Millionaires ain't paying their bills either. You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? So it's just like, there's a lot of people, like, even in like the northern states, like, where people that you never would expect, races that you wouldn't expect, are lining up to get potatoes. You know what I mean? So it's just like, it's collectively as a whole, we're all one community and we're all in this same pot. And so speaking up and breathing has helped so much. Literally, breathing can lower your blood pressure. You know what I mean? So breathing is what I say.
Cool. Vaughn, what you got? Best practices?
Yeah, breathing is definitely a thing. I notice sometimes I'll be like holding my breath. I'm like, girl, woo,
tense. Yeah.
What are you doing? Like, my son will walk by and like put my shoulders down. I'm like, ooh.
Thank you.
Oh, okay, thanks, Chris.
Yeah, because the body is trying to be all tense. The body is still like COVID. Oh God. Like, the body's reacting to the news and everything around us, but we're trying to stay cool and calm.
Yeah. And that's one thing I've been doing. Like, I have enough news to know what's happening, but I don't really watch the news. If I do feel I'm getting overwhelmed, which I did feel like at a point from watching the news, I was getting overwhelmed with everything, with George Floyd, with Breonna Taylor, with the Arbery, like with everything happening, and then the COVID, like everything in the news was just like boom, 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 boom. And there was one day I just turned the news off. I was like, I'm turning the news off, and I'm turning on Moesha. That's what I'm doing. Like, that's it. Like, and that's okay. I feel like people think you have to always be like tuned in and checked in, posting about this and doing this about. No, I'm gonna pray about what's happening right now in the world. I'm gonna make sure we're covered and whatever I'm supposed to pray about and talk to the Lord about it. But then I'm going to unplug and disconnect and get my mind together, because I know myself. I feel everything. Y'all know me. I feel everything. If you're upset, I'm upset. When I got to her house that day when her friend had passed away, I was like, "What's wrong with you?" Like, I knew something was wrong with her. She was like, "Say something. And I don't need a hug. I'm going to tell you." And she told me, and I was like, "Girl, come here. I ain't care about no COVID."
I hear. Yeah. I was like, we good. I was like, but sometimes with grief, like, because people can't do anything, everybody's comes, and I was like, well, if I got it, I'm gonna just pray and back it up and like.
Right.
Yeah, I was like, okay, girl, I don't care about no COVID. Anyway, but it's just like just knowing like how to unplug when you are aware of who you are and like how you feel and what you feel and what you do. It's good to know your triggers. It's good to know the things that will cause you to go. I feel like if I wasn't unplugged and I probably would have a bad day to tell you, or more grieving things that have happened to me during COVID. But because I was unplugging and disconnecting myself when I felt like, you're getting to your feel is bubbling, like you feel it on the inside, like it's time for you to turn it off. I did. I was like, Netflix.
That's great.
Mo to the E to the Parkers.
You was on you girlfriends?
I did girlfriends. I did Moesha. I did the Parkers. Like I was like, nope, I'm not. I'm watching. I did Different World. Like I'm not watching anything that is going to take me to a place where I am feeling so depressed that I feel like I'm taking everything on. Like I'm not doing that. I'm not. Like I'm grateful for a lot in the COVID. I'm grateful for my grandma still being here. Like some of people passing away. My grandma turning 90, like that, like in the middle of a pandemic, we were like, how are we going to celebrate? We had a nice little house party. It was just a couple of us. We had cake, we had food, we had, and it was perfect, and I surprised her and she was happy to see me. And she was like, who's that? Is that my grandchild?
Yes, it is.
Is that my nice grandchild? I was like, that's your coworker favorite. Yeah. That's who it is.
Oh, that's nice. That's nice that she does that. Mine doesn't do that. She just calls me the favorite in front of my other cousins, and they're like, "You can't do that." I'm like, "Yeah, she can." Like,
grandma.
I will echo that. I've really gotten into, aside from prayer, journaling, taking walk, getting outside. It's really hard. Like there was at least like maybe a week and a half where I like didn't go outside, and I didn't realize it until I was outside. Like I was just like, yo, I haven't been outside in so long.
Vitamin D. Wait, hold on.
Yeah, like we said in the first episode, vitamin D, but you forget that, especially because me and my mom are people like we stay at the computer like for days on end. And so just unplugging, stepping back. I think I was more so in the news when Donald was in office because we were like, is he gonna kill us today? Like what's going on? Like just to stay on top of it. So not having that stress has been great. But yeah, reading. Hitting the Audible, finding some artistic projects to do. I love the Shine app. The Shine app has been saving my life. It is an app I totally recommend. Started by women of color, and so it has at least like 3 meditations a day. You can do check-ins, meditation, journaling, people you can talk to. It does cost, but like if their talk space, I think is cool. Headspace is cool. Like there's a lot of other apps and things to get into to help you practice breathing and meditating and doing things of that nature. So
Abide is good too. Abide is a Christian meditation app.
Ooh, okay.
It does Christian there's one I listen to almost every night, and she like reads you this Bible story, and I'm like,
Yeah.
Yeah,
cool. Utilize the technology, utilize the tools, and step back when you have to. I too, thank you Netflix for giving us all this Black nostalgia. Like at some point I was like, I'm just finna watch One-on-One. I can't. One-on-One, half and half. I've been watching Smart Guy. Like you just gotta go back to the classic.
I did half and half
too.
too.
It's the nostalgia of like after Ginger, I had to put like Hey Arnold on so I could just go to sleep to have that in the background. You know what I mean? Just to have that safety and that nostalgia. So just take care of yourself, yo, and like do what you gotta do. Yeah, so we're wrapping up here because we're not out of the woods yet. Okay, like we're in this not open space unless you're in Texas. I know Jess, you have shouted out, but they didn't take it. Everything is down. They like we just doing what we want now.
I felt very safe going to see my boo because even though they were open, everyone was still practicing protocol.
I hope they're gonna do it still.
I hope
so. Yeah, Texas is actually really cool though. They don't play that. They really hand out tickets and stuff. Like they're not playing that. So I actually felt quite safe in Texas, more safe than I was in California. Yeah. California, I'd be in California like I gotta hurry up, pick up my food and go. But
that felt fine. Was lifted yesterday, right?
Yeah, I think they lifted the mask mandate. They're trying to tell the restaurants and all that, like you ain't gotta like no. Yeah, the governor's like, everybody knows what to do. We ain't gotta mandate this no more. So I'm like, which they're not
here, Jesse. That's right. You ain't know that.
Right. Florida is doing that now, which Florida has always been on the wrong side of history.
Right.
In terms of that. Same thing with Waplanta.
They all have been doing it anyway.
You know what I mean? So it's like which I get it. I get the fatigue, I understand, but I'm also like, then those people shouldn't be able to travel because you know what I mean? Now you're starting to cross-pollinate germs again. If people are not wearing masks. Maybe if we were at a particular vaccine threshold. So we're in a like strange place. We got the Moderna vaccine, AstraZeneca, Pfizer. Johnson & Johnson.
Everybody done lined up.
They're trying to get on top of it, but we're kind of in like a nebulous zone. So what are y'all feeling? Are you getting the vaccine? Are you not? Like what how do you feel about it? And what kind of expectations should we have going forward?
I don't get the flu vaccine now.
I don't get
exactly.
So if I don't want to put it out there in the world. If they make it mandatory for certain activities, then I'll do it.
No, I'm not doing that. I ain't your guinea pig. You know how long they sat there and practiced on our ancestors? Nah, I ain't your guinea pig, homie. Everybody else. So we'll just see what happens with everybody else.
Exactly. I said,
it's gonna be World Z up in this place. I Am Legend. They'll have these zombies and stuff from this dang vaccine they decided to administer. But it's on top of that, and then they be like, "Oh, that vaccine doesn't cover this strand," and I'm like, "Yo, bruh, nah." I'll wait. Let's see what happens. You know what I mean? I think like if I had it, I would feel different. You know, if I had experienced the actual virus, you know what I mean? I might think differently, but I haven't. And so, yeah. But even to travel, like how you said, like they shouldn't be able to travel because cross-pollinating. Like if you're on a plane, you have to show that you have to have a certain test done that's negative. Yeah, they don't play that no more. And so it's like, oh, okay, yeah, cool. But
yeah, I'm tested I'm tested like twice a week for work, so I always know my stats. I went today. Okay.
Yeah, I think for me, I'm not anti-vaccine, but I am a person who I don't get the flu vaccine either. So I'm not like against it. But as a person who's had it, right, and somebody like brought it into my house. One person, mind you, a kid. But you know, it's one of those things of like, since my God-given body has helped me sustain through it, I feel like there needs to be two messages around the vaccine, like for people who have not had it and why they should get it. But for those of us who have had it, the coronavirus can stay in your body for up to 90 days. And so if you have the virus, you shouldn't get the vaccine because the vaccine is going to be killing coronavirus. And if you have too much of the virus, it could potentially kill you, right? So you got to make sure that you're negative, right, before you get it. But it's also like, my body did all right with it, like naturally. So what are my, incentives to get it? I don't want to get it again because you can always get reinfected, right? It wouldn't be my preference, but I was like, well, my body can do it unless it's maybe a more aggressive strand. But also there's a thing about like the long hauler symptoms, right? So there are people who had COVID when it first started, people who have it now, where like they still have respiratory issues. They still have muscle aches. Me and my parents have been dealing with some of that stuff. So there's still some long haul symptoms, brain fogginess, all kind of stuff where like the doctors are like learning about this as it goes. And so I'm like, well, I don't put the vaccine in my body with my long haul symptoms because what if it makes it worse? It might make it better. Like there's just still a lot of nebulous area about it. And so I'm not against it. I would prefer to get it one shot instead of two. Just because I've heard like, the area can get not infected, but it hurts. And so you got to kind of wait for that. And so I want to go in a neighborhood where rich white people are getting the vaccine, just because we have a history of that as a people, of being experimented on and guinea pig. And I know, like, I have a friend who was like, what do you mean you're not going to get it? You got to get it. This has been tried. Doctors all over the world have been working on this. Read up on the clinical trials and this, that, and the third. So I'm not against it. I'm with you, Jess. I'm like, y'all go first. Let me know what's up. I am Legend, World War Z type person. Like my body can fight coronavirus. If the vaccine is in my body, it's just in my body at that point. And I have no control over that. So we'll see how it goes in terms of like, I feel like airplanes are going to make it mandatory. They're talking about workplaces. And so in terms of just managing our expectations, I mean, I would encourage people to do their own research. You know what I mean? Sort of know for yourself. And don't let nobody, make you side one way or the other. Make any rash decisions. If you want to do it, do it. If not, it is what it is. Hopefully we'll all achieve this herd immunity or herd mentality, as Donna used to call it. But I don't know. It's a tricky area. What I don't want is people like to get the vaccine and think that like you still have to wear a mask, right? You still have to socially distance. It's not like I got it. I'm immune.
I'm immune, right? Like the flu vaccine. You can still
get the flu.
I have effects from having pneumonia. my chest and my lungs hurt all the time.
Right.
I've had pneumonia and I've had bronchitis. So it's just like whenever I'm caught, I'm like, oh god, that's vid. But like I said, I get tested like twice a week. I know it's not what it is, but like, and I have my heart stuff also is like COVID symptoms sometimes. If I can't breathe, I'm like, oh, it's just like some medicine or whatever. So it's just, there's so much to where it's just like, okay, do I take it? Do I not? It's not like it's bulletproof or foolproof.
Right.
It's not, I feel like people, if you're going to get the vaccine, that's fine. If you're not going to get it, that's fine. I hate when I see people like talking trash about people who aren't going to get it or people who are going to get it. Like, oh, y'all being da-da-da-da. It's like, okay, if you want to get it, go ahead. Do you, boo-boo. I'm not doing it right now. I don't want to.
God's not taking the free will away from nobody, so neither am I. You know what I mean? It's like we all get to choose what we feel is best or not. And, for people who like our people have a legitimate fear of being experimented on. It's documented. Even though, with Tuskegee, like I heard some of the like, that had syphilis with the Tuskegee experiments, their descendants were like, well, they tested them to like get the vaccine and then didn't give them the vaccine once they had it based on, they tested it off of they forgot the vaccine based on their, ancestors' genetic pool, but then didn't give it to Black people afterwards. So she's like, so now they're giving us the vaccine. Why wouldn't you take it? I was like, because I'm skeptical, because I don't let my guard down easily.
And my other fear is that people are going to get it and just be out here in the streets.
Listen, and we're not in that space. Like,
no, we're not in the clear. We're not in the space where we can just be out here, just being all over the place. Like, even when we're not out. Like, we're still in the house. If we do go eat, we go places that are like really nice, or not, they're practicing social distancing.
And you can social distance, right? Yeah.
Yeah, we order food and bring back to the house. Like, that's it. Like, we're not like just out here in the streets, so
double masking, all that. It's important.
I'm not going to no place that let us all run willy-nilly. What the heck? That tells me people ain't washing their hands in the back. Nah, fam.
Listen,
you know what I mean?
No idea what people are doing.
I was able to order food one day on DoorDash or something recently. I was getting ready to order food, and I was looking at the comments just for the food, and somebody wrote like the driver didn't have a mask on. I said, I'll go pick it up. I was like, I'll go get it. I ordered it. I was like, nope. See, that's what I was like.
Sorry.
Nope. I'm like, I'm not taking. You don't have a mask on. So
Ooh, that made me throw up in my own mouth. I'm queasy. Jesus. Right.
I was like, nope. Thanks. I'll go get it. Right around the corner.
Listen. And then we get it. 365 days of this has been a lot. In my mind, this was always going to be a 2-year stretch.
Yeah.
Off top when they was talking about shutting it down and the NBA was closing and all that. Because the reality situation is like, yes, people want to do things, but people can't afford like to test on a regular basis, like to be doing the things to make sure that people are safe. And so, we just want to encourage y'all. Listen, we want to get out too, but it's like, we could be back where we are, if not worse, if people just get the vaccine and start acting willy-nilly. So like, let's just, be smart. Take care of each other. You know what I mean? If you're getting vaccinated, cool. If you're not getting vaccinated, cool. Let's just make sure we do what we know to do so we could get to whatever our new normal is going to be, because we ain't going to go back. It's impossible now. Some of these things, I said, I don't care what these celebrities are saying. They like being at home doing these interviews. Like, people like not having to shuttle everybody into the studio. Like, people like this. Like, there's some good things about some of these things. So, that's our admonishment. We're excited that there's a vaccine, that the numbers are going down, but like we're not out of the clear. So let's manage our expectations, be safe, be smart, and get the help you need mentally, emotionally, and all that good stuff. Anything y'all want to add?
Unplug when you need to.
Please do.
Please do not let the news and the things overwhelm you and stress you out, because the media is there to manipulate our mind to a certain extent, and to make us believe, and to teach us, and to have a certain narrative that they want us to believe, and they're going to project a certain agenda. And so sometimes when you're watching things, you need to just take it with a grain of salt, pray about it, and just when you feel the need to unplug, just turn on whatever that show is, do whatever, read that book, go for a walk. I got some roller skates. If it don't stop raining,
and I would say, don't feel guilty about it. I think sometimes, like, especially as Black women, and we feel like we got to put the weight of the world on our shoulders and carry it. And it's like, nah, fam, you're a human being. Some ancestors fought in blood and died. They did all that work. Like, you get to be, free.
They did so you can relax a little. They did so you can relax a little.
So don't be feeling like I gotta be. Compassion fatigue is a real thing. And like, take that into consideration. You get to take care of yourself, right? Like, that's a privilege. Savor that. You know what I mean? So don't be out here making yourself suffer unnecessarily. We're going through enough already. Okay. Jess, you got anything you want to add?
No, just breathe, guys. Breathe.
Every morning before I leave this room, that's what I do. I got to get a meditation in. Sometimes I do one, sometimes I do two. YouTube has great ones as well. So just do what you got to do to take care of yourself. And this is your first episode of the month, people. We're back. Yay! You guys are going to get one more in this format, and then everything else is going to be live. You know what I mean? So we can respond in real time. We can have conversations. We can add you into the conversation. It's going to be a lot of fun. We want to connect in real time, and I have to wait for these episodes to come out all the time, and things are not relevant anymore and that kind of thing. So that's it. I think we're it. That's it, right?
Yeah.
This has been the Intermission Podcast. We love y'all. We'll see you next time, and we'll see you on the live somewhere very soon. All right?
Bye. We'd love to hear from our homies, so feel free to email us at intermissionhg, as in homegirls, that's intermissionhg@gmail.com. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us on Instagram at intermissionhg. Until next time, this has been A Break with Your Homegirls.